First topic today is brought to us by the Cleveland Monsters. And speaking of the Cleveland Monsters, the Lake Erie Monsters are back for one weekend. This weekend, January 30th and 31st at Rocket Arena. It starts with 1, 2, 3 Fridays and a Battle Together t-shirt giveaway courtesy of True North Convenience Stores for the first 5,000 fans. Then on Saturday, the first 8,000 fans receive a Zach Werenski bobblehead courtesy of the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. Enjoy returning players, themed jerseys, Calder Cup photo opportunities, and more in this step back in time to 2016. Tickets are on sale now at clevelandmonsters.com. All right, let's talk about Todd Monken. We reacted to the news yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was, in the moment, in the heat of the moment, considering the hire came at 10:47, and obviously we're live at 11 a.m. So we're going to get to the 24-hour reaction, talk about some of the positives of the Todd Monken hire. But before we do that, Bull, you mentioned the Emanuel Acho clip that you can set up and then we'll play.
I think even before that, Mike, Tyvis hasn't been here. So I think we should get his reaction maybe first to the hiring.
Ty?
No?
Well, my reaction 24 hours later is the same reaction as it was. As a matter of fact, let me be honest with you. My reaction when it first happened at 10:47 and I got the news, I did what everybody else did. I said, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, they did this. But then I started thinking about it, and I when we did the show Tuesday, I had kind of hinted at this. I said if they was to go with Todd Monken or Jim Schwartz, those are two guys that could hold guys accountable. I think that they're veteran guys. They don't take no BS. They straight shooters, and they tell it like it is. And I said that I don't know how much fun that players would have there, but the fact of the matter is on Sunday we will see them play well. Whether the Ravens offense have fun during the week preparing for those games on Sunday, I don't know. But on Sunday, those guys produce. Same thing with Jim Schwartz. I don't know how much fun the defense had during the week of practice, but on Sunday we've seen results. I'm expecting to see the same thing with Todd Monken as the head coach. I mean, I know that I don't know if he's calling the players or not. I don't know what that situation is, but I think he's going to hold guys accountable, and I think that they might not have a ton of fun in Berea, but on Sunday, if you're winning, you'll respect the results in the process. So I tweeted out that sometimes you don't get the things you want, but you get the things that you need, and I think absolutely when this whole thing started off, we always talked about we want them to have a leader of men, guys that can get these guys in line. Because I think if you look at how we talked about how this roster would be constructed, it would be the guys that we seen last year. So they'll be in their second year, and there'll be a bunch of rookies because they're losing like 23 or 25 people or whatever the heck it was. So that means you're going to have a bunch of young guys that you need to perform on Sundays. Well, you better make sure that you got a coach that can get these guys to fall in line, understand that this is what it takes to win games, and it really can't be that much nonsense. These guys got to grow up fast, and Todd Monken fits that. Him and Jim Schwartz were the only two guys to me that fit that personnel. So I think that's why they went with that hire, and I'm not necessarily mad at it. I think that AB came out and said we want to focus on the offensive side of the ball, so you went and got the offensive-minded coach who's had success these past few years with Baltimore. And on top of all of those things, I said, well, if Shedeur is going to be the starting quarterback, the Ravens wanted Shedeur. They wanted to draft Shedeur. Todd Monken probably seen something in Shedeur, so maybe he came in and laid out a plan that would be like, you know what? I came from college. I was at Georgia with Stetson Bennett and Carson Beck, who, by the way, is draft eligible. Keep that in mind. But I was just in college. I seen how that game plan worked. I was successfully able to leave Georgia, go to the NFL, establish a pro-style playbook that got Lamar Jackson to play better and win his second MVP. Shedeur is not too far removed. We got to switch some things up. We seen some things that we like that he does well in college that may work in the pro. I'm the perfect person that can link the two together to make a playbook that works for a guy that's going to be in his second year in the pro. So it's not that bad of a hire when you sit back and think of it. It's not the sexiest hire in the world. I will 1,000% admit that. But also my expectations was extremely low because I thought all the top name guys, Mike McDaniel, all those, Brian Day, all those guys would not want this job because it's not the best job on the market, and those guys will get the higher profile jobs, and that's exactly what happened. So this was somewhat in the way of where I said it was going to be. I wish we had the graphic when I told you. I was like, one of the guys on that list is who they going to draft or going to sign. I think Monken might have been on the list. So
he was on the list.
I was right. I tried to tell y'all 2 weeks ago.
I was thinking after the show, I like to, whenever I do a podcast or a show, whatever, I'm sure you guys do this too. I think about a lot of, not every single word, but I think about what I said during a show is like, I like to reflect on what I talked about. Mm-hmm. And did I say anything that was unfair? Did I say anything that was, wrong, that I thought was wrong or whatever? Did I change my opinion on something, getting more information? And I was thinking about it, and one of the things I realized is when it comes to hiring a coach, in a way, it's like drafting a player. Like we all react to the draft. Like we did a live draft show, right? Mm-hmm. And we were all pissed off about Mason Graham.
By the way,
yeah.
When G. Bush said that out of all the people, he did not want them to take Todd Monken, you should have 1,000% known that was going to be the case, because he said the same thing about Mason Graham.
That's true. But we reacted to it, and our reaction is based on a million things. It's based on mock drafts. It's based on position, all these things.
It's also in the moment.
It's also in the moment. It's the same thing. Now, do I feel like Todd Monken was a great hire today? No, but the more I thought about it, I said, well, we don't know. The last older coach that got his first opportunity, Bruce Arians, got that opportunity on a crappy team in Arizona, a crappy organization, and eventually turned it around, and he did a good job. Now, that doesn't mean Monken's going to do the same thing here, but you got to give the guy a chance. So the guy's been around forever. You got to give him an opportunity. And then I was like, did I say anything that I thought was unfair? And I said, yes, I did. I wasn't giving him any credit for Lamar Jackson's success because, A, I don't love to give away credit from the player to the coach just in general. Yeah. But also because Lamar had won an MVP before he was there. Cool. But to be fair, Lamar has played his best football with Todd Monken as the OC. How much credit, if at all, he deserves, I don't know. But the reality is that he's played his best football with Todd Monken.
Stetson Bennett in college, 2 national championships back-to-back.
And then I was like, well, I didn't say anything really stupid, so okay, I'm good, And then this morning, I happened to see this clip from a former football player who... This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. It's Emanuel Acho. What's the name of the show? I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I've never heard of the show.
It's the Speakeasy Podcast.
Speakeasy. Have you guys heard of this?
Well, he had a show on FS1 called Speak.
Okay,
and then, FS1 went through the whole scandal thing, so all the shows got canceled except for Coward. It was him, Shady and Joy Taylor, I believe.
And
I believe this podcast is him and Shady.
Yeah.
And TJ Houshmandzadeh is on there live.
Okay. Yeah. So they went from the show to the podcast.
Gotcha. So they're doing this podcast. And this is what Emanuel Acho said this morning, I believe, about Todd Monken in reference to Shedeur Sanders. Here we go.
Because any expectation for Shedeur Sanders under Todd Monken, I believe, will lead to disappointment. There is nothing about Todd Monken as a head coach that should get you excited. As an offensive coordinator, you could say Lamar Jackson had an MVP season under Todd Monken. As an offensive coordinator, Lamar Jackson had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions under Todd Monken. As an offensive coordinator, you can make arguments under Todd Monken. Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships at Georgia under Todd Monken. But as a head coach, no. Nothing about Todd Monken as a head man gets me excited. I need to see who the offensive coordinator is going to be. That's what I need to see. But what I don't yet see, T, is how is Todd Monken going to command that locker room, command that group of men? And also, if I'm Shedeur or anybody in that locker room, why am I listening to Todd Monken? What have you won on an NFL level as a head coach? You're not even a head coach on an NFL level. So I don't even have expectation for Shedeur under Todd Monken because I believe any expectations I would have, he would not meet. Because why am I excited about it, T? Why?
Gee, the last part of what he said is what just blew my mind.
That blew my mind, too.
That was just the fact that Shedeur shouldn't listen to it.
The fact that he listed that Lamar had an MVP season under him as a play caller. Stetson Bennett won 2 national champions as a play caller, and then he said, "Why would Shedeur listen to him?" Yeah, and I'm just like,
this is wild work.
What is he talking about?
I didn't see that yesterday. But if you're Shedeur Sanders, please
don't listen to him.
Don't listen to that man. That man gonna get you in trouble. When you was younger, they said, "Hey, listen, you stay away from him. He's nothing but trouble." That gonna get you in trouble. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders, who tweeted immediately, "Hey, let's go to work." That's the attitude I want to hear. Let's go to work. That's what everybody's supposed to get. Change is inevitable, right? You can sit here and talk about change, and you can, be emotional about it, and you can do this thing, or you can understand this is my opportunity to get my shot to do something. Todd Monken is the new head coach, and you list his resume. I would like to ask Shady and Acho, how is it that you can take a step forward and look at his resume and you say, I don't believe nothing about it. I don't even know if he's going to be a head coach. But yet still, you was probably on board with hiring somebody who ain't never called plays in their life.
Shieldhouse.
Right.
And Udinsky. What are we talking about? Like, the fact that this man has done it in college at a high level, the fact that he's been all over the place, whether he's with Les Miles in LSU, he was with Oklahoma State, he's been in the MAC, he's been with Eastern Michigan, he's done it at a high level with the Baltimore Ravens. And the one thing that I went back and watched, and I tried to, after everything is all said and done, is I wanted to get some information and dig into what his past is and dig in who he is as an offensive philosopher. And one of the things that was so impressive to me in terms of what he said when he got hired for the Ravens job as coordinator, he said, our job is about developing. We are developers, whether you're a coach or you're a player. He said, the way I could tell that I know for a fact that you are developing somebody is how many teams want that player in this bidding war when you get to free agency. When you get to free agency, is that player that you drafted and you brought in, are people wanting to sign them? Do you have to make a tough decision with your organization? Like, we're going to give him the bag of money. If you get a guy to free agency and don't nobody want him, he said, then you ain't developed nobody. I said, ooh, I love that. He said, I view myself as a developer.
Todd Monken said that?
Yeah.
I like that.
And I was like, woo. And I love the fact that when he said he was a former receiver coach, he said, look, man, let me tell you about receivers.
That's what we need.
He said, you know what, people going to pay attention. He said, why would I pay attention, right, to what Todd Monken is saying? In the same interview, Todd Monken said, the reason you should pay attention to me is because when I'm installing, players want to know where at on the field am I going to eat? Where is it that I see myself being successful at? And players tune up and understand and really dial in when you tell them, hey, we're going to get you the ball right over there at the 16-yard line. They can't cover you in space. Players want to know what advantageous places are you going to put them in, and that's how you get buy-in. So I was like, wow, like he has a guy, and for young players, I love it. And also the last thing he said is, I'm a straight shooter. I'm going to tell you where you messed up at, and I'm going to let you know that whatever you thought was good enough ain't good enough for me. And he said, as long as you up front with the players and you show them on film how they can be successful, he's like, that's the things that you need to get people to buy in with. So I was like, look, his experience, the way he gets people to try to buy in, and the fact that he came in with a solidified game plan to what Tyvis was saying. There may be a lot of people that came in and said, I don't want no parts of Shedeur Sanders. There may be a lot of people that said, I don't want no parts of Deshaun Watson. He came in and said, let me show you what I can do with a guy that can move around. Let me show you what I can do. 2 or 3 people mentioned the fact that he likes people to get the ball downfield. One of Shedeur Sanders' strongest suits and Deshaun Watson's strongest suits is throwing the deep ball. So we'll see. It's yet to be seen what they do. Him saying this stuff in the interview is not any way, shape, or form going to be the end-all, be-all. What you put on tape and what you do, you got to go out and win football games and win games. But when you step back a little bit from the emotional side of it and you look at his resume, you look at what he's talking about, it makes sense for where the Cleveland Browns are to have a guy like that as a head coach.
Now, the Browns still, the way they handled the whole situation, especially with Jim Schwartz,
Yeah.
they botched it.
Yeah,
and it's made the Monken hire look worse because of the way they handled it.
Yes.
The Browns hurt themselves. They
did.
did a terrible job with PR.
They
It sounds bad because it's like you casted this wide net.
Yeah.
And then it seems like you zeroed in on Shieldhouse. And then it seemed like it came down to Shieldhouse and Schwartz. And then if you sit back and think like, all right, let's say like Andrew Berry wanted Shieldhouse, but Jimmy wanted Schwartz. It's like y'all compromised and say, all right, we ain't going to take neither one. We're going to take Todd Monken and go straight down the middle.
Or you only hired Todd Monken because he's the only one that would accept Jim Schwartz as the DC, and then Jim Schwartz was pissed that he didn't get that.
It was a lie.
So none of that may be true, but that's just and in the long run, it doesn't matter. If he does a good job, none of it matters. But right now, the Browns look stupid again. But I just want to get back to the Acho comment for a minute because it really there's 2 things that happened to me in the last 24 hours that made me very introspective, right? Like, I got a tweet from a guy, I don't remember his name on Twitter. This was when G and I were getting into it about the Shedeur making the Pro Bowl, right? Obviously, a lot of people were mad at me for that conversation. I shouldn't say obviously.
Called him a racist.
Nobody really called me racist. No, okay. I mean, not in this case, but maybe they did. I don't know. This particular guy said he wanted to punch me in the face because I hate Shedeur Sanders. I'm not mad about it, okay? I actually responded to his tweet, and we actually had a little back and forth, and he sort of apologized for saying he wanted to punch me in the face. But I was thinking about it. I was like, I'm trying to think about why are people, if you're not a Shedeur, if you don't say something positive about Shedeur all the time, why is it that people think you're a hater? And I thought about it, and I went back to Tim Tebow, right? And I couldn't stand Tim Tebow when he first came into the league. I hated him. But I realized later it wasn't that I hated him. It is that I found his supporters so annoying that I took it out on him, right? And so it got down to the point where it seems like Tim Tebow's actually a pretty nice guy. I kind of thought he was a phony back then, but I realized he is who he is.
One of my friends runs PR for his foundation and works really closely with him.
Yeah.
And genuinely says he could not be a
nicer,
Like,
I always thought it was nobody could be this good a guy.
He is,
he apparently is. And then I thought about it with Shedeur, and I said, am I taking it out on Shedeur because his fans are so over the top? And I was like, no, I don't believe I am doing that. But I think what's happening is, and I'm not falling trapped to this, but Emanuel Acho makes this asinine statement, and he should know better. He played in the NFL. Would he say that about any other player? I don't think he would.
Well, his statement just doesn't make sense because it's like, basically what he's saying is then anybody that's an OC that gets a job as a head coach, you shouldn't pay attention to him.
Right.
That makes no sense.
Even if Tom Brady was a quarterback, he wouldn't say that.
He basically said never listen to a first-time head coach.
Basically.
It's
just so basically what he said.
And I said to myself, there are going to be people out there that are indirectly going to get mad at Shedeur Sanders because of this comment.
They will.
Right? Like they're going to take it, adds to the ammunition. So like when he says stupid things like that, how does that help Shedeur in any way? It's terrible advice. I'm guessing Shedeur Sanders is not going to Emanuel Acho for advice, but but if Emanuel Acho thinks he's giving Shedeur Sanders advice, that's idiotic advice.
But to me, Emmanuel's comments. What I don't like about Emmanuel's comments is that if you are a Shedeur supporter, like you're pretty much trying to make an excuse before the season even starts, and that part to me I don't like.
It's a good point.
It's
I didn't think about it that way.
Like I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to do well this season. So let me go ahead and throw this out here right now. I'm not going to judge him because Todd Monken is his head coach.
Yeah.
And although he's had a ton of success as an OC, now that he's a head coach, there's no way Shedeur is going to have a good season under a first-time head coach. That's just impossible. That just never happens. So, like, to me, he's building the excuse before the season even starts, just in case Shedeur doesn't perform well. And to me, that's weak. To me, because for me, I would look at this and say, because I was victim of this. I said 3 years ago when they hired Todd Monken, when Baltimore hired Todd Monken, I said, Lamar ain't going to have no good season because it's his first time dealing with, it's so hard to install an offense and then for it to look good that first year. It takes some time. And they went out and had a top 5 offense. So it was I was wrong.
Yeah.
So with this situation with Shedeur and Todd Monken, it's not like I would imagine Todd Monken's going to be pretty much like Kevin Stefanski. If he ain't calling the plays, he's going to have something to do with calling the plays for sure because he was successful with it. So why would you to me, you build it in your mind. Shedeur is going to fail this season already, and that's just terrible. As a Shedeur supporter,
I think it's a little more nefarious than that. Emanuel Acho don't bring that. He don't even believe that. I'm just telling you, he don't believe that. Let me tell you how this game works, man. I told people, all the time. I said, bro, between now and the next time they're gonna play some games, it's gonna be hot outside.
Thank God.
It's going to be hot outside. So what are you doing to generate some interest from now until when it's hot? If you can't, you got to have something to talk about. And the reality of what Shedeur Sanders is, look, he's going to be the hottest story from now until whenever. And so anytime the Browns do something, you don't see it. Todd Monken as a hire would not be on nobody's radar unless Shedeur Sanders was here. It would be
It'd be a minor thing.
Minor
That's
note.
true.
Guess what? When the free agency come out, they're gonna be talking about receivers. And did they do the Shador Sanders a disservice
exactly
for not getting on
what's gonna
receivers?
happen. Yep.
They're gonna be on the draft. They're gonna be covering the draft. You got to create some.
They get enough offensive linemen to protect Shador Sanders.
And people
He's good for business.
He's gonna roll it. So when I look at stuff like this, I look at Emanuel Acho. I'll be watching people's body language. I'm like, come on, man, you don't even believe that like that. And by the way, Shador is way smarter than that. This is a guy who was a 5th round pick. This is a guy who has already gone through a bunch to even get himself onto the field and be in a position to even be led to be a starter in 2026. Why would you do something stupid like that and just sabotage your career? Bro, the coach is the coach. Whoever it is the coach. You're going to take your marching orders. And that goes for everybody. Like, not just that goes for, it's Myles Garrett, it's Jerry Jeudy. When you ask for change, get ready for it. Change means that you're going to have to be a little uncomfortable. Yeah, it ain't the same coordinator. Yeah, it ain't the same playbook. Yeah, the routine is a little different. But like Tyvis said, sometimes you need a shakeup, and sometimes people too comfortable. So guess what? The Browns didn't do good enough. This is a referendum. Elections have consequences, right? And they've elected a new official. It's up to you to figure it out because the NFL stands for not for long. So we're going to see. Hopefully everybody lock in and everybody get ready to go. But that was nonsense.
You know what's funny is that we sit here, a lot of people say, like, today these athletes can't handle like a hard-nosed guy. Like, that coaching style doesn't work. And players don't respond. I think that's BS.
I agree.
I think that's BS. I think that they do respond. I think they do want that because it shows that they care. I mean, Mike Vrabel,
Yeah.
Mike McDonald.
You guys both did the hands up.
Mike McDonald. I mean, like, them the two guys that's gonna tell you what it is. Like,
McVay's no slouch either in that.
yeah, like, so it's like I don't necessarily think like they like you can't talk to those players like they can't handle it. No, I think that's a lie. I think that especially if you've been where the Browns is now, like you want somebody to come in and inspire something.
And they are young. They're moldable.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Let's move on to our next topic.
We're going to get to our next topic. Real quick, though, I did put up a poll. We got 800 votes. I said, do you feel better about the Monken hire now than you did 24 hours ago when the news first broke?
They said no.
79% said they feel much better about it now than they did a couple hours ago or yesterday. So,
And in the end, whether you felt good or bad, like you can talk yourself into anything.
exactly.
Right? Only time will tell if it's a good.
We got to see them.